Well, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. I have to say that this is giving me slight flashbacks to online learning and the pandemic, but we're really glad that you've joined us. My name is Steve Dann. I'm the principal of the college, and we're going to spend a little while this evening just running through some of the key points of the year to keep you informed as parents. We don't underestimate the degree of change that students are making in coming to college. This is not a school. They've chosen to continue in education with us, and we deliberately aim to support them in their journey from compulsory education through to university, employment or training when they leave after 2 years. The results that they get are really important. But their time here is also about the social development, confidence and maturity that they get through studying with us. We do this very deliberately, as I say. For example, we don't have bells for lessons and the start of the day because we want the students to take ownership of getting to class on time. We don't have uniform. We expect students to dress appropriately for the environment that they're in. Students call staff by their first names because we want it to appear like a more mature relationship between the educator and the student. We also understand that the role of parents, however, is really important, and we value working in partnership with you. We think that you should know what's going on at college, which is why we send attendance information, although you're no longer legally responsible for making them attend college. That's their responsibility, and they have to take ownership of that and report if they aren't able to come in. We send you progress reports and we copy you into the Friday message each week. This is a really big college. We've enrolled 2,500 students this academic year, our 50th academic year as it happens, which means we've got a very short amount of time to try to make an efficient and effective, safe learning environment. I've spoken to all of the students in the first few days about how that will work and about how we work on the basis of a code of conduct to develop respect and maturity. Abby, if you could move the slides on. We're going to hear from Chris and Isabelle about how the academic side works and how the support functions work. Please do type any questions into the Q&A box. What we'll do is we'll look through those after the meeting and address any key issues, a sort of an FAQs approach in the Friday email that I send out each week. Please do read that. It is to the students, but it's deliberately copied into you as a summary of everything that's going on so that you know and can hopefully talk to your young person about what's happening at college. We have a few rules here. We don't try and have lots and lots of rules, as I say, because we're trying to develop a more mature and respectful approach. If you could move the slide on, Abby. But there are a few things that I'd like you to talk to them about and just be aware of and just have an understanding and supporting us with, if you could. One is around mobile phones, and you've probably seen in the news recently, has been covered with one of the larger academy chains in the country completely banning mobile phones and taking them from students as they come into school. We know of one other sixth form college which is doing a similar thing, taking phones from students in each lesson. We've looked at all of that research. We understand the concerns over it. Mobile phones are certainly a disruptive and overly entertaining piece of equipment, but they are also very valuable. We know that students can use them for recording homework, for taking pictures of things that are on the board, for making notes on. What our policy is that in lesson time, students should keep their phones out of sight, out of mind. So put them in their bags, put them in their pockets, turn notifications off so that they're not constantly being bombarded, unless the teacher says otherwise and says you can now use the calculator, or you can now take a picture of the board and take a record of the homework, or you can look something up on the internet if you need to do so. So we think that's a sensible approach. Vaping and smoking, as you know, again, nationally, big crackdown on trying to reduce this. We don't have and don't allow any vaping or smoking in college and on the college site. We have vape sensors in the toilets, which will alert us if that's going on. Our biggest issue, to be honest, is that students leave the site and stand in groups and smoke out on the road on Long Road. And Long Road is a busy road, and the path has got a combined bike and pedestrian routes on it. And our main issue is not so much to do with the smoking, but students blocking that pathway and causing potentially a hazard with bikes or people stepping in front of cars. So it's more about that. We would ask them to be away from college if they do smoke or vape, and to not stand around outside. The other thing that we've been quite strict on, particularly seeing as we don't have uniforms, is trying to make sure we only have the people on site who should be on site. The only thing that we've got to identify students is their lanyard and their badge. And so we expect students to wear that while they're on site and to present that when they come through the entrance. We have changed this year so that there is a single entrance into the building, rather than there were multiple entrances around and open fences around the periphery. As you probably know, this is a very busy part of Cambridge now. When the college was built many years ago, it was built as the girls' school, way out in the edge of the city, to sort of keep the girls away from any temptations and from town and from the boys' school down at Hills Road. We now are in the middle of a biomedical campus with around 30,000 people estimated to be living and working on this area. We've got the railway station opening in the near future, just on the edge of the site. So we are having to increase our health and safety elements around having people not wandering through our fields. The other part I mentioned as well is about attendance. We don't have authorised attendances. Remember, you are not responsible for making sure your child is in school anymore, because this is post-compulsory education. They are responsible for letting us know if they can't attend, in much the same way that they would have to if they were working. So we expect them, for any absence, to report on the website for the reason for that absence, and we would pick that up if attendance is becoming an issue over time. So those are really the main things I just want you to be aware of in terms of rules and regulations. As I say, we try not to have too many. The ones we have are there for important reasons. So I'm going to pass you over to Chris Childs, who's going to talk about the academic side.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Chris Childs. I'm a Deputy Principal at Long Road, and I've been sort of working in charge of the curriculum for the past few years. Just wanted to say, sons and daughters are joining the college at a fantastic time. The last 2 years, we've achieved record results and outcomes for our students. And we've sort of achieved this by working through and improving sort of habits for students who join college. One area we've put a lot of time and effort in with our teaching staff, and later with our tutorial staff, is using the Vesper mindset. So we understand, as Steve explained, we have about 150 different schools feed into our year one. And what we try to do is sort of develop habits, not just going to be successful at Long Road, but habits which will be successful in work, an apprenticeship, or at university. We use the Vesper mindset model, which has 5 key strands, which teaching staff and tutorial staff will use throughout the 2 years at Long Road. Firstly, we look at vision. It's really important for students. over the 2 years to sort of work out what they want to achieve. That can be an academic goal, it could be a vocational goal, but to have a vision at the end of the 2 years. Research, as you imagine, has sort of suggested that students with a strong vision often achieve the outcomes that they want to. Secondly is effort. It's about, obviously we have 4.5 hours per subject or A-level or per applied course, but how much work do you do outside of studies? And teachers will set homework in the traditional sense, but also about reading around the subject and improving, and also how you judge your effort. Are you judging effort against your peers or against the national cohort? Systems is really important. How do you organise your learning time? We have, as Steve said, 2,500 students. Probably about 20% would live actually within the Cambridge area, and we understand that students travel vast distances to come and join us. So one thing we've put in is a lot of independent study areas across college. And how do you treat your learning time and how do you organise your time? So we'll put a lot of effort into coming up with the best system, and systems are different for different students. We don't insist there is one model. It's really in this first term trying to find out what system suits you best given the circumstance of travel time into college and time you may use for independent study. Practice is a really key area, and a bit later on I'll sort of talk through the key dates in year one about how we improve study skills, and then also when in applied or A-level when we have the external examinations that we're in the best possible place to be successful. In a way, I often liken when I talk to students that this 2 years is sort of building that. For many, the exams at the end of 2 years is where we want students to be at their best and peak. So really in this first year, we're trying to improve skills, trying to develop systems to put the students in the best place for when they take on the exams in 20 months' time. And lastly, attitude. The A-levels are now being in place, the linear A-levels, for about 6 or 7 years. Previous to that, for 15 years, we used to have a lot of modular exams, which were short study, a short exam, then a result. Here, obviously, in many courses, there is no formal examinations to the end of 2 years. So the progression pathway is not always linear. So sometimes there's peaks and troughs in terms of learning when you get to higher assessment objectives, which could be analytical or evaluative. How do you work towards that and how do you improve? And sometimes there may be setbacks initially, but how do you cope with that? The staff will always, after examinations or key assessments, give really detailed feedback on how to improve and move forward. Abby, so up to next slide. So one thing I did want to talk about, and what I've got in front, you can see in this table here, is outcomes versus performance at a national level for sixth form colleges. So sixth form colleges probably teach about a third of all students who do applied or A-levels in the country. So it's a very large data set. And what I put here, and it's what we use with staff in the training and with students, is a really key relationship between attendance and performance. This is a national data set, so obviously at an individual level, things can vary. What I've put on the left here is either the A-level grade, as you can see, A star to U, and then the equivalent applied level 3 grade, distinction star, distinction, merit, pass, and U, which would obviously be a fail. And you can see here the relationship between attendance and outcomes. This is at a national level. At different subjects, it may be slightly different. But one thing we really focus on that habit is that presenteeism and attending. That we understand across 2 years, everyone can have illness and that type of thing, but it's that sort of regular consistency of attending lessons. And you can see at the top end for the A stars and A's, or what we would call B and above, a high grade is often referred to in the sort of sixth form sector, is that you need a consistent attendance. And in most walks of life, if you achieved, even here, 85%, in most tests, that would be an A star. But in attendance, if you had 85% over 2 years, it'd be equivalent of missing almost a term of teaching across the 2 years. 90% would be the equivalent of missing one day a fortnight, which would equate to over half a term across those 2 years. And what we work towards is, one, from a teaching perspective, we need to make lessons where students want to come in and be engaged and, progress, but also that sort of challenge of being in college, that attendance is an indicator. It's not a be all and end all, but it's an area we really work with students through our teaching teams and also through our guidance teams, that if we can set the right habits in the first few weeks for attendance, all the research suggests that attendance patterns are normally established within 6 weeks of students joining a sixth form college. So we can have strong attendance patterns. They normally will then last for those 2 years. Abby, so next slide, please. I just wanted to talk through all the key dates in year one. Obviously, be sent a copy of this presentation, and this will go out in the Friday bulletin. So for some students who are doing on a level 3, there will be some November GCSE resits, which are sort of straight after half term and in mid-November. Then for A-level students, you can see here Key Assessment 1. So the term Key Assessment is throughout the 2 years, we have points on the A-level programme where all the subjects will host an assessment at the same time within the week. This is to help myself look at sort of patterns in terms of how courses are doing and how certain classes are doing. And it also means that we can use this data, because we've got comparable data now from several years, we can look at how a cohort is progressing and how we can best support students to be successful moving on. So the key assessments will either be a minimum of an hour and a half within a lesson, and then later on we will sort of do full-blown mocks. Progress audit 1. So the term progress audit is, as a parent or carer, you'll be sent a report on your son or daughter of how they're doing. It will be around, there'll be grades and key assessment data, but also around some of those VESPA criteria from the previous slide around effort and systems. So we're trying to sort of triangulate in terms of the VESP model in our reporting and also the sort of academic side. Also, there will be attendance data on that progress audit. We then have, you can see after the progress audit and the first key assessment, we have a parent carers evening. So this would be from sort of mid-afternoon into early evening. Like a lot of you would be familiar with using the School Cloud platform on the 10th of December. Then for many of your sons and daughters, they will be doing real external exams if they're doing applied courses in level 3. And that exam window you can see here is from the 8th to 17th of January across 2 weeks. So within those applied courses, if they're doing those units, they would have started that teaching now, and then we'll have practice exams and mocks before that exam period. So it comes around really, really quickly. In terms of working weeks, you're probably looking at about 13 to 14 weeks of college before those exams come in. CA1 means current achievement, and what this is for applied subjects, because the different sizes of applied subjects, some are the size of A levels, some are the size of 2 A levels, and the extended diplomas are the size of 3 A levels. We put a common time for staff to report on students' progress in year 1 on that applied course. So we open a window from January to the start of February. So this information will be collected on, and it's like a working at grade, so how the students are working at that moment in time. Then Key Assessment 2 at the end of January. Key Assessment 3 is a working at grade, and that will be put in just before Easter, and that will coincide with a second progress audit. Summer level 3 applied exams kick in quite a couple of weeks after Easter, so they last approximately for a month from the 12th of May to the 13th of June. Staff will send out information on that quite shortly. And then for A-level students, we have the key assessment mocks, and these will be 3-hour blocks where students will do mock examinations. Often staff choose AS examinations to test students on that. And then once that's marked, there'll be a follow-up parents evening on the 17th and 18th of June. So what we've tried to do here is sort of triangulate the sort of VESPA principles, have a common sort of set point throughout the year where we regularly assess students, and then are able to sort of feedback, obviously, students themselves, but to yourselves via reports or via sort of parent consultations. At the end of this week, all teaching staff will send out what we call a prepared for learning email. So staff will send out an email. So just for example, in geography, the geography teacher would send out an email to you. It sort of outlines the course, any textbooks that need to be bought, any trips that are coming up, but more importantly, sort of introducing themselves to you. So you have a point of contact to email if you've got any questions about that particular course. On large applied courses, you may receive more than one email because your son or daughter may have multiple teachers on that course who may be teaching different units at the same time. And we would say that as a point of contact, the teacher who has emailed you, you can always use that first point if you have any queries about the course, any questions about how your son and daughter is doing. Also, with attendance, the reports will start to come out next Tuesday. So you'll receive an attendance report, which will show any lessons your son and daughter has been absent from. So those reports will come out on Tuesday. Okay, Abby, so go next slide for me, please. Okay, what I wanted to talk about briefly, it comes up a lot, so I thought I'd cover it here, is cover arrangements. And the first point is we don't cancel lessons. Sometimes the term's used, the lesson's been cancelled because a teacher might not be there, but there may be another teacher or a member of cover staff who will be covering that lesson. So the way we work is if a member of staff's unable to teach their lessons, they will set the work, or one of their colleagues will put the work on Teams. So we use Teams across all courses, and a member of staff will be there to start the lesson, instruct students what to do, and also take a register. Obviously, students at this age would expect to work independently, and if it's work set via Teams. If a member of staff they need an operation on a knee, or they're off for a longer period of time, normally say more than 3 working days, we will use cover agency staff and existing staff in those courses to cover lessons. The difference here is that someone will be physically in that lesson for the entirety of that 90 minutes, or if it's back-to-back 180 minutes. So if the person's off for more than so normally the way our timetable would work is it would be no more than 2 lessons. We will have someone come in either from agency, or we will sort of reshuffle, or I may ask part-time staff if they want to take on more to cover until that member of staff returns. So I just want to make it really clear, we do not cancel lessons. Sometimes that terminology is used, but we know, and I've just been talking about attendance earlier, how important it is that every lesson is used, because as Steve says, 2 years goes exceptionally quickly, and the way what we call it exam creep, as you know from doing the GCSEs, really we have 5 terms working with your sons and daughters. The exams in the second year pretty much start after Easter, so we've got 5 terms to work, instill this sort of good working habits, look at how we can help your son and daughter progress to the next stage, and make sure that our teaching staff really, infuse your sons and daughters and set them up to be able to be really successful in those exams in 2 years' time. So I'm just going to pass over now to Isabelle, who's just sat next to me, and who's going to sort of talk about the guidance.
Okay, hello. So I'm Isabelle Bennett-Humphries, and I'm assistant principal who leads the guidance team. What I'm going to talk about in this short time now is to tell you a little bit about what the guidance team is and how that is different from how you might have been used to in school context, and also talk about the progress coaches who are part of that team and how you actually contact the progress coach who's assigned to your young person. In the guidance team, we work with both one-to-one support, progress reviews, which is the name for our 20-minute sessions, and we also have weekly tutorials, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. Abby, could you move the slide on, please? Thank you. So here we all are in this picture here. So what exactly is the guidance team? How does that overlap? So we work in partnership with teachers, curriculum. As Chris and Steve have been talking about, we have we deliver the careers work. There's also careers advisors that we work with, and we work in partnership with academic support and the welfare team. And I'll tell you a little bit about how you can contact them. But in our team, what we're looking at is the academic side alongside vision. So we're looking at how to support students in developing that resilience to actually succeed academically, because we can't help students to realise the vision that they want to realise if they're not succeeding academically. But equally, a lot of students typically would leave thinking about what they're doing next for a long time. And what we want them to do is realise we're actually on the 5-term model. We want to be exploring and looking at that now, and also accessing the experiences that you need, work experience, to be able to realise the vision that you're seeking. So Abby, could you move that on, please? So progress coaches. Progress coaches are different from tutors in school, but they have an overlap. So they're there to support academic success, but they're not teachers. So they are, some of them are qualified teachers, and they know about a whole range of courses. And that's the thing, they're trying to link the whole programme to support young people to be successful. So they are based in team offices rather than classrooms. So this makes them much more accessible, both for students and for parents. They're accessible at different points in the day, and they deliver support both in the classroom with tutorial sessions and in one-to-ones. The kind of thing they would be looking at right from the beginning is about work experience, apprenticeships, careers, and university applications. It is not too early to be thinking about those things. Year twos, lots of them are putting the finishing touches on their university applications. So we're just looking at a year away that they've got to that point. A key thing that progress coaches do is they look at attendance and work concerns. So obviously, sometimes there are real disciplinary concerns, but quite often what we need to look at is what's actually blocking attendance, what are the obstacles, who is it who needs to be supporting that person, and the progress coach kind of pulls everything together. That's why it's so important that you know who the progress coach is, and they're going to be emailing you this week in the same way that teachers are. So you'll receive an email introduction. You should receive that by the end of this week. If you don't receive that, please be in contact, and the main college support line will make sure that you are in contact with the right person who is getting to know the students. Progress coaches will be really happy to signpost you to another department. So we have academic support, who are where we've got specialist teachers and learning support assistants. We have the exams department. We have wellbeing and safeguarding. Don't hesitate to contact the progress coach. They will direct you to the right person. If the issue is specifically with a subject, obviously use that contact that the teacher is sending you this week from the subject. But progress coaches are happy to advise, because, as I said, they know about courses across college rather than specialist knowledge on one particular course, but they might be able to give some advice which is about the whole picture. Abby, can you just move this one on? Thank you. Okay, so we have 3 directors who work with me, directors of student care, guidance and progression. And a group of progress coaches works with an individual director. So that director will know all the young people that they're working with who have more complex pastoral, or there may be disciplinary concerns. Please make sure that we have your correct email and phone number, as this is the way they'll contact you. They'll send you an appointment and make contact if there's perhaps a more serious issue that they need to discuss. They would also be able to meet people on Teams if it's not possible to come into college because of your work, but you would really like to speak with them. Thank you, Abby. Can you move to the next one? So one-to-one meetings. Hopefully, I think if we're on Tuesday now, we started with the 10-minute check-in meetings last week, and by the end of this week, every student will have signed up for an appointment and seen their progress coach. what we're doing in these meetings is to try and work out if there's some really immediate things that are bothering you, but also if there's some things more in terms of long-term support. As Steve said, we're a very large college, and the previous school might not have sent us the information. Often people think that it automatically comes straight through, and the best way to check if we know what we need to know is to send someone to their progress coach, or you as parents and carers can contact directly. A lot of what they're talking about at the moment is about courses and how people are adapting to level 3. Starting from Monday, all year ones will be issued a 20-minute meeting appointment. So that's a longer appointment slot that will come through email through the student services system. That will be set in to make sure it doesn't clash with lessons. So they won't miss lessons, but it will be put in on a day where we try to look at trap time between lessons where they might be on the college site studying. Those discussions are looking at the themes that Chris has already been talking about, thinking about what's your vision, what do you want to achieve, how can we support you. A really big thing in this first progress review is about planning and adjusting to that huge amount of time that people have to work on their own, and that's a key thing. And different people will have different worries about that. We use a Vespa profile system, which students have been creating in tutorial to help identify more bespoke strategies to help students be more successful. And progress coaches right from the beginning are looking at making specific action plans and logging skills and work experience and how they can do that through Unifrog. It is really, really important that the student checks what time that meeting is and when to go. So that will come through email. So encourage them to check that because it's really important they get that in before half term. Thank you, Abby. Okay, so group sessions. In school, this might, the registration in the morning might have been called tutorial or tutor sessions. This is different what we do at Long Road. So the key thing is it's weekly. It's a compulsory registered session, but it's a weekly session. It's 45 minutes, so it's half the length of a subject lesson. And it is designed specifically for students of this age group, for 16 to 19. It's not a repeat of what went on in school. So obviously we've got nearly 30 weeks across the year, but I've divided this into 4 themes to think about what's going on there. So firstly, we look at all these issues to do with transition to level 3 and also building relationships within that group to support each other throughout that time. We have so many students who've come from different schools who have come on their own. So if you're sitting there worried that your son or daughter has come to a place that they don't know anyone, there are lots of students in that situation, and tutorials are a really good place to meet them. We focus on systems and practice and expectations, helping students to actually understand what is it I'm supposed to be doing? How do I'm now down to 3, possibly 4 in some cases, subjects if they're doing further maths. How do I juggle that time? How do I spend the right amount of time on different subjects? What do I actually do when I'm sitting there with my books open? The second theme, which we've talked about already, is about progression, vision. Unifrog is the platform that we use. This is a platform that lots of students have used in schools, but the material is there to be tailored to what they need. So it says Unifrog. This is not just about university. This is about careers. This is about apprenticeships. It's helping students to explore different pathways and work out what's the right thing for them so that they don't find themselves in a year's time rushing into something that actually really wasn't what they were hoping to do or is right for them. Theme 3, obviously wellbeing and resilience. The material that we have there is designed specifically for the 16 to 19 age range. So we look at a whole range of different and important topics. So anything from consent to developing resilience around mental health, and then skills for independent living. Many of the students in 2 years' time will be living on their own. So things like money management, really important. And finally, we have active citizenship. So this is a range of things, but including thinking critically about sources of information. Where do you get your information from? What do you read online? What do you see? Why does it make a difference where you look for information and who you trust? Voting and democracy. You're probably thinking of that person as still as primary age, but actually we're getting to the stage of registering to vote. And why does that matter? Thank you, Abby. So I think what I wanted to round up what I was saying is with the message about individuals. So each progress coach, their job is to get to know students and to work out what's the right thing for that student. Going to tutorial is really, really important because that gives them the weekly connection with their progress coach. As I said, they're issued appointments, so they're doing 10-minute appointments, and then we're going to the 20-minute ones. But if they need to see their progress coach, they can email at any time and just say, actually, can we catch up at some point soon? Progress coaches are the ones who do references. They're the ones who support and advise, and maybe they might be able to help them with an issue with it, supporting understanding in the classroom, signposting them to well-being. And these are the people that get to know someone as a whole person to support them throughout their time at Long Road. Thank you. I'll hand over to Steve now.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Isabelle, for going through the academic and the pastoral side there. Few questions in the Q&A bit there, which we'll answer those in the Friday message. We'll combine it with any that come out from the Year 2 meeting that we're doing tomorrow. I think the one that I would just like to quickly address, I guess, is that one that I started off with about parental responsibility and how roles have changed. I talked about this with students in my talks to them at the beginning of the year. It's very much now about the student. Your legal responsibility for making sure they are in education has ended. That ends when they turn 16. From that point on, the student has the choice of staying in education, going into employment, getting an apprenticeship, or doing a training course. We're really pleased that they have decided to stay in education. We think it's valuable, and we're even more pleased that they've decided to come to Long Road and work with us. Hence, you'll see through what Chris and Isabelle have said, that responsibility now is on the student to make the most of this opportunity. The taxpayer is funding them for the last time. If they stay on in education beyond here and go to university, they've got to borrow money to do so. And there's a lot in the news at the moment about whether that's worth it or whether going into degree apprenticeships or employment directly is a better route. And that's one of the things that will be discussed in the tutorial system. My plea to students and to you in terms of supporting them is to really make the most of this opportunity, make the most of everything that is offered. The enrichment, getting involved in citizenship, getting involved in volunteering, finding out from careers what the options are moving forward. We know that students, it's very confusing. There are all sorts of choices. They've got so many choices coming ahead of them, and our job is to try to support them so that they leave here feeling really confident in those next steps. We don't want people just to be sleepwalking into those next steps, or even worse, have no plan whatsoever. To do that, they really need to be engaged in everything we offer. And we put out a lot of information on the Friday message and out to students. And for example, at the moment, we've got opportunities with student governors. We've got opportunities with people visiting employers in the local region. We've got an eminent politician coming in this week to talk to particularly politics students. And we really need to get away from the idea that students are here because they have no other choice and they are made to be here, because that's not the case. We are making an assumption that they are here because they know that this is a really good option for them and that they can grasp everything and all the opportunities that we offer. In terms of your involvement, please do contact us. The progress coach is the first point of contact. If you've got any questions, they can direct you to the most appropriate people. You don't have to wait until the parent consultation evenings. Those are very short. They're only sort of 5 or 6 minute discussions with individual teachers. But we encourage email communication directly with teachers if you've got concerns, or communication with the progress coach if you're not sure who else to talk to. We're always open to that because we know what an important partnership it is between us, you and the young people. So again, thank you ever so much for joining us. Thank you to Abby for setting it up. Thank you to Chris and Isabelle for contributing tonight. Thank you.